The terrifying and incredible life story of King Pharaoh, a king who declared, "O Bani Israel, I am your greatest creator. You must worship me alone." This is the story of a ruler whose body has astonishingly remained untouched for 3,000 years. A man so powerful he could eat a young camel in a single day and never fall ill. Yet his own strength became his downfall, poisoning him from within. Firawn, the most ruthless ruler of ancient Egypt, a tyrant who defied Allah and his prophet Musa were a cursed king destroyed by divine wrath, the worst criminal of Jahannam. Once again, we bring you a shocking story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video to support us. You can also suggest a story and we may turn it into a video for the channel. If you're ready, let's begin. Firawn is mentioned 74 times in the Quran, primarily in connection with oppression and arrogance. He ruled the entire land of Misr, Egypt, with the help of his loyal and hardworking servants. As his empire grew, so did his tyranny. With unimaginable power, Firawn enforced his decisions without opposition, further fueling his arrogance. According to the customs of that time, Firawn was considered a deity and all temple worship was directed toward him. Over time, he began to believe his own falsehood, thinking of himself as a god worthy of worship, the creator of all things. Blinded by his delusions, he continued his reign of oppression and self-indulgence. But there was one thing he had forgotten. Allah's judgment was near, a judgment that would serve as a lesson for all of humanity. Let us take a look at the land of Misr, Egypt, where this historic event unfolded, an event that serves as a warning for all times. The Nile River, one of the lifelines of the kingdom, was among the largest rivers in the world. Known for almost never drying up, even in summer, it provided abundant resources, enriching the soil and transforming the desert into fertile land. With agriculture, livestock, and maritime trade, Misr flourished, its wealth and influence growing ever stronger. While Firawn lived in luxury, the slaves bore the weight of his empire, enduring relentless labor to maintain the system. During his reign, the enslaved Bani Israel suffered unspeakable oppression. Before Firawn's tyranny, the noble Yusuf, or S, had served as a vizier in Misr and had introduced the belief in Tawheed, the oneness of Allah. However, after his passing, the people of Egypt gradually returned to their pagan beliefs. Out of hatred and revenge, the Bani Israel, the people of Yusuf, AS, were enslaved and subjected to immense suffering. Among Firawn's closest advisors were Qur'an and Haman. Qur'an had been led astray by his wealth and arrogance, while Haman followed the path of deception for his own interests. Firawn's fear and the massacre of infants. Firawn became paranoid about the growing population of Bani Israel. Fearing that, in the event of war, they might rise up against him, he devised a cruel plan: the mass slaughter of newborn males. A terrifying dream disturbed Firawn deeply. According to narrations from Abdullah ibn Abbas and Abdullah ibn Masud, he dreamt of a fire rising from the direction of Quds, burning everything except the homes of Bani Israel. Frightened, he called upon his sorcerers, fortune-tellers, and dream interpreters. They warned him, "A child from Bani Israel will be born who will bring the downfall of your kingdom." Enraged, Firawn ordered the mass execution of all newborn male children from Bani Israel. The birth of Musa, AS, and Allah's divine plan. Musa, AS, was born in Misr, Egypt, into the lineage of Yaqub, AS. His father was Imran and his brother was Harun, AS. The moment he was born, a radiant light shone from his blessed forehead. Witnessing this, the midwife who delivered him was filled with awe and admiration. Musa, AS, is the most frequently mentioned prophet in the Quran. His name appears in 34 surahs across 136 verses, and when including indirect references, the count reaches 502 verses. He was a strong, well-built man with straight hair and a broad physique. But above all, he was known for his noble character, purity, and modesty. Musa's mother's trust in Allah. As Firawn's soldiers stormed through homes, searching for newborns to slaughter, Musa's mother was helpless. She had no choice but to turn to Allah in prayer. At that moment, Allah inspired her with divine guidance, as mentioned in the Quran. Nurse him, but if you fear for his safety, cast him into the river. Do not be afraid or sad, for we will return him to you and make him one of our prophets. Filled with faith and trust, she placed her son in a small cradle and set it afloat on the Nile River, completely relying on Allah's protection. Meanwhile, Musa's sister secretly followed the floating cradle as it drifted downstream. Asiya, the woman of faith. The cradle floated toward Pharaoh's palace, where it was discovered by Asiya, Pharaoh's wife. Unlike her husband, Asiya was a woman of deep faith who endured immense suffering under his tyranny. She is one of the 4 most virtuous women of Jannah. When she lifted the cover of the cradle, she saw a beautiful baby with a radiant face. Her heart was immediately filled with love for the child. She pleaded with Pharaoh, "He will be a comfort to my eyes and yours. Do not kill him. Perhaps he will benefit us, or we may adopt him as our son." By Allah's wisdom, Pharaoh remained calm and agreed. Musa was raised in the very palace of the tyrant who sought to kill him. Allah's divine protection. As he grew, an extraordinary event occurred, one that foreshadowed the future. One day Musa pulled Pharaoh's beard and slapped him. Shocked, Pharaoh exclaimed, "This is the enemy I have been waiting for." To test if the child was truly a threat, Pharaoh placed before him 2 bowls, one filled with jewels, the other with burning coal. As Musa reached for the jewels, the angel Jibril intervened, nudging his hand toward the coal instead. Musa picked up a burning coal and placed it in his mouth, scorching his tongue. Seeing this, Pharaoh dismissed his fears, convinced that the child was just an innocent baby. Little did he know, this very child would one day stand against him, delivering Allah's message and warning him of his impending doom. This is just the beginning of Pharaoh's downfall, a lesson for all who seek power through arrogance and oppression. His youth seemed to be renewed constantly, as he never aged. His health was so strong that he could eat an entire young camel in one sitting. Due to his unique digestion, he only needed to relieve himself once every 40 days. In the Quran, the title Firawn refers specifically to the king of Misr, Egypt, during the time of Musa, alayhi salam. In contrast, during the time of Yusuf, alayhi salam, the rulers were referred to as Rab or Malik instead of Firawn. Firawn is described as a proud and arrogant ruler who, like Qarun, became filled with vanity and even claimed divinity. He oppressed the weak, looked down on his people, and turned his back on the truth. His complete control over every aspect of the kingdom further inflated his arrogance. One of Pharaoh's men, Fatun, was a cruel baker from the Kipti. One day he was seen beating a man from Bani Israel named Samir. Samir called out to Musa for help. Musa, pushing Fatun aside, struck him. With just a single blow, Fatun fell to the ground and died. Musa, was deeply saddened. He had no intention of killing him. His only goal was to protect Samir. In his sorrow, he turned to Allah in repentance, seeking forgiveness. The Quran describes this moment as follows. Musa entered the city unnoticed by its people. He found 2 men fighting, one from his own people and the other from his enemies. The one from his people asked for his help against the enemy. Musa struck the man and caused his death. He then said, "This is the work of Shaitan. Indeed, he is a clear enemy who misleads." At the time, Musa, had been calling people to the oneness of Allah, which angered the Kiptus. This is why he entered the city at a time when most people had retreated to their homes. When Musa, said, "This is the work of Shaitan," he was not referring to his own action, but rather to the crime of the Kipti man who had already deserved punishment. Still, since he had not been commanded by Allah to kill him, he repented for his unintended action. "O my Rab, I have wronged myself. "Forgive me." Allah forgave him, for he is the most forgiving, the most merciful. Musa, AIS, then made a promise. "By the favor my Rab has granted me, I will never support criminals or those who lead others to sin." The Qibti people complained to Firawn, demanding that the murderer of Firawn be found. Firawn asked for witnesses, but no one could present any. Failing to identify the killer, Firawn left the matter unresolved. However, the next day, Musa, AS, saw the same man, Samir, fighting with another Qibti again. Samir asked Musa for help. Musa, feeling uneasy, said, "You are truly a troublemaker." As Musa moved to separate them, the Qibti man suddenly shouted, "Oh Musa, are you going to kill me as you killed someone yesterday? It seems you want to be a tyrant, not someone who brings peace." The news quickly spread, and one of Firawn's advisors secretly warned Musa. As the Quran describes, then a man came running from the farthest part of the city, saying, "O Musa, the leaders are planning to kill you. Leave immediately. I am truly advising you for your own good." Musa, AS, escaped the city, praying, "O my Rab, save me from the wrongdoing people." Musa, AS, his actions demonstrate the true meaning of tawakkul, trust in Allah, by consulting and seeking advice, making a firm decision, taking necessary precautions, leaving the final outcome to Allah, praying with sincerity, and accepting Allah's decree. According to Fakhr al-Din al-Razi, Musa, AS, never intended to kill the Qibti. Furthermore, since the Qibti was a polytheist, the concept of qisas, equal retribution, did not apply to him in the same way. Additionally, since the incident happened by mistake, qisas was not required. Musa, AS, grew into a young man known for his honesty and noble character, leaving a strong impression on those around him. Meanwhile, his people were suffering under severe oppression. Allah chose Musa, AS, as a prophet to free Bani Israel from slavery. He was commanded to go to Firawn and invite the arrogant ruler who claimed to be a god to bow before the Rab of the heavens and the earth. Despite the difficulty of this mission, Allah made it easier for him. He sent Musa's brother, Harun, AS, to assist him. Together they went to Firawn. Upon seeing them, Firawn asked mockingly, "Who are you?" Musa, AS, replied, "I am the messenger of the Rab of all worlds." Firawn was shocked. Instead of listening, he reminded Musa of the favors he had done for him in the past, accusing him angrily, "Did we not raise you as a child and care for you? Did you not live among us for many years? Then you committed that crime. You killed a man. You are an ungrateful person." The Quran describes their conversation. "Remember when your Rab called upon Musa, 'Go to the wrongdoers, to the people of Firawn. Will they not stop their oppression?' Musa expressed his fears. 'O my Rab, I fear they will call me a liar. My chest tightens and my tongue does not flow easily, so appoint Harun as a messenger alongside me. Also, I am wanted for a crime among them. I fear they will kill me." Allah reassured him, "No, it will not happen. Both of you go with our signs. We are with you, hearing everything. Go to Firawn and say, 'We are the messengers of the Rab of all worlds. Let Bani Israel go with us.'" Firawn continued questioning him, bringing up the past. "Did we not raise you in our care as a child? Did you not live with us for many years? And then you killed a man. You are truly ungrateful." Musa, AS, replied, "I did not kill him intentionally. It was unintentional, and I did not know the consequences of my action. When I feared for my life, I fled from you. Later, my Rab blessed me with wisdom and made me one of his prophets. As for your so-called favor, was it not a result of you enslaving Bani Israel?" Firawn then asked mockingly, "And who is this Rab of all worlds?" Musa, Ershes, answered, "He is the Rab of the heavens, the earth, and everything between them. If you would believe." Firawn turned to the people around him and asked sarcastically, "Did you hear what he just said?" Musa, AS, continued, "He is your Rab and the Rab of your forefathers." Firawn dismissed him as insane. Your so-called messenger is surely mad. Musa as did not stop. He is the Rab of the East, the West, and everything between them. If only you would use your intellect. At this, Firawn's anger boiled over. If you take any god besides me, I will throw you into prison. Musa as replied, even if I bring you clear proof? Pharaoh challenged him, then bring it if you are truthful. At that moment, Musa as cast his staff upon the ground. It suddenly turned into a living serpent. Then he drew his hand from his cloak, and it shone with a dazzling white light for all to see. This miracle marked the beginning of Pharaoh's ultimate downfall. And keep their daughters alive to serve us. We are far stronger than them and will crush them under our rule. Hearing this, Banu Israel complained to Musa as, we were oppressed before you came, and we are still being tortured now. Musa as comforted them, saying, perhaps your Rab will soon destroy your enemies and make you rulers of the land. Then he will see how you act. Regardless of what Pharaoh plotted, Allah's decree was certain. Even though most of Banu Israel feared Pharaoh's cruelty, a small group of them sincerely believed in Musa as. This was because Pharaoh was a ruthless tyrant who ruled with terror and oppression. Musa as urged his people, O my people, if you truly believe in Allah and submit to Him, then place your trust in Him alone. They responded, we trust only in Allah. O our Rab, do not let us fall under the oppression of these wrongdoers. Save us through your mercy from these disbelievers. Allah's command to Musa as. Allah revealed a command to Musa as and Harun as. Prepare homes for your people in Misr. Make your homes places of worship and establish your prayers. Give glad tidings to the believers. Musa as then made a powerful dua, saying, O my Rab, you have given Pharaoh and his people wealth and splendor in this worldly life. Is this so they can lead people astray from your path? O my Rab, take away their wealth and harden their hearts so they will not believe until they see the painful punishment. Allah answered, your prayers have been accepted, so remain steadfast and do not follow the ways of the ignorant. Pharaoh's stubbornness led to a series of devastating calamities that shook the very foundations of his empire. Due to his defiance against Allah's messenger, Pharaoh and his people suffered from years of drought and famine. Then Allah sent upon them floods, locusts, pests, frogs, and blood as punishments. This is clearly stated in the Quran. So we sent upon them the flood, locusts, lice, frogs, and blood as distinct signs, but they remained arrogant and were a wicked people. Al-Araf 7:133. These punishments were terrifying and unlike anything they had ever seen before. For years, drought destroyed the lush green lands of Misr. Then a massive storm approached. The Nile River had overflowed in the past, but this was no ordinary flood. The ground, having lost its ability to absorb water, failed to contain the heavy rains, causing massive floods. For days, the rain continued without stopping. No one could leave their homes, and the overflowing Nile wiped out houses, crops, and livestock. In desperation, Pharaoh's men went to Musa as, begging him, pray to your Rab to remove this disaster from us, and we will believe in you. Musa as prayed, and by Allah's mercy the flood came to an end. However, Pharaoh and his people broke their promise once again. The locust plague after the flood, the people of Misr did not fulfill their pledge and continued in disbelief. The heavy rains and floods had created the perfect conditions for locusts to breed. As a result, a massive locust swarm descended upon the land. This merciless swarm ravaged their crops and destroyed their food supply. Empty fields and starvation became the price for Pharaoh's arrogance. The people of Misr watched in terror as their livelihoods were wiped away. Yet despite seeing his people suffer, Pharaoh refused to humble himself. The locust plague was a warning. The punishments would not stop until they surrendered to Allah's will. The frog invasion. The land was in ruins, and the people were in distress. Meanwhile, Pharaoh, watching the chaos unfold from his palace, remained stubborn in his disbelief. Then Allah sent another punishment. Frogs began to spread from the Nile across the entire kingdom. Unlike ordinary frogs, these were massive in size and seemed to challenge Firawn's arrogance. As the invasion intensified, life in Misr came to a halt. Frogs covered homes, marketplaces, and palaces. They even climbed onto people's clothes, making it impossible to escape them. The situation became unbearable. People could not sleep due to the deafening sounds of the frogs. Witnessing this terrifying ordeal, many began to lose faith in Firawn. But once again, instead of repenting, they went to Musa, AS, and pleaded, "O Musa, pray to your Rab for us, as he has promised you. If he removes this punishment, we will surely believe in you and allow Banu Israel to leave with you." Yet after every disaster was lifted, Firawn and his people returned to their arrogance. They failed to take heed and more punishments awaited them. The parting of the Red Sea Day. By day, the number of believers increased, but they needed to escape the tyranny of Firawn. It was a difficult decision, but for the sake of leaving behind a faithful generation, Musa, AS, and his people decided to flee from Misr. Firawn and his army soon realized what was happening and immediately set out to chase them. It was a dangerous journey between life and death, but their unshakable faith in Allah gave them the strength to move forward. When they reached the Red Sea, Firawn and his army had caught up with them. Before them was the vast sea, impossible to cross, and behind them was the ruthless Firawn and his army. Musa, AS, in desperation, turned to Allah in prayer. Then Allah commanded him to strike the sea with his staff. As soon as Musa, AS, obeyed, the sea miraculously split in two, creating a clear pathway for them to cross. Banu Israel, witnessing this incredible miracle, crossed safely to the other side. Even after witnessing this sign, Firawn's arrogance remained. Instead of humbling himself, he ordered his army to follow through the parted sea. But as Firawn and his men moved forward, Allah commanded the waters to return. The mighty waves came crashing down upon them, swallowing Firawn and his army whole. Firawn's last moments and his belated faith. Firawn and his army were now wiped from history. The Quran describes this moment. "And we took Banu Israel across the sea, but Firawn and his army pursued them with oppression and hostility. Until when he was drowning, he said, 'I believe that there is no God except the one whom Banu Israel believe in, and I am of those who submit.'" Yunus 10:90. As he was about to drown, Firawn finally admitted his helplessness, but his faith came too late. Since he had spent his entire life rejecting Allah, his last-minute belief was not accepted. Allah said to him, "Now, but before this, you were rebellious and among the corrupt. Today we will preserve your body so that you may be a sign for those who come after you." Yet many people remain heedless of our signs. Yunus 10:1. A sign for generations to come. In 1881, an English research team made a shocking discovery. While digging near Jabal Ayan, they found a remarkably preserved body, even though it had never been mummified. Tests revealed that the body was over 3,000 years old. It belonged to none other than the arrogant Firawn, who once claimed divinity. His lifeless body remains a powerful reminder of Allah's justice. Despite receiving endless blessings, Banu Israel later fell into disbelief. May Allah protect us from arrogance and from being among those who reject the truth for personal gain.